Hey everybody, Tim here with today's episode of Lost in Space, Season 1, Episode 9, Resurrection, the penultimate episode for Season 1. So, the title, Resurrection, it kind of references a few different things. As I mentioned the last episode, when you have big franchises like this, especially if it's a remake, like, I never thought that West and John actually blew up at any point. I talked about that last time. So at first I was like, oh, it's the resurrection of them or something like that. When we get to the end of the episode, we also see the return of robots. So it's kind of a resurrection of a few different things. So this episode does do one thing that I absolutely hate the most. So I'm assuming, I could be wrong, but when you have a show like this, and especially they dropped all 10 episodes, boom, the same day. Like, you had to have known everything you were going to do before it came out. Like, I get it. If you're doing, like, one episode a week, stuff like that, like, you're still filming them as you're putting them out. This series cannot use that excuse. I hate it when you have a show going and then you start putting in flashbacks in the episode that you're revealing the twist in. It doesn't work. Nobody believes it. And as soon as you see it, everybody already knows what you're going to be doing. Now, if you go all the way back to episode 1 and you start putting those seeds in there, that is great foreshadow. That is showing that, hey, I have a plan 10 episodes from now. They don't do that. This episode starts with a flashback with the meteor hitting on Christmas Day. They've talked about that before. I get it. And Will talking about how him and John have a code. And he's going to send the code to John, and John sends the code back. It's basically like their own version of Morse code to know that they're okay and that each of them is alive and well. As soon as they do that, you're like, well, shit. The end of the episode is John sending the code back. Big surprise. That's how the episode ends. It doesn't work. Like, if you saw them talking about that code this whole time, then it would have been interesting. Instead, you see the flashback, and then boom, it jumps right to the present of Will. Like, I'm going to send it. I'm going to send it. Okay, why have you never talked about this the entire time? Like, and John and Will have been separated numerous times in this first season, and they've never brought it up. Like, it's just bad writing. So we see Dr. Smith kidnap Maureen, kind of interesting, going back to Robot's ship, trying to figure stuff out. The main plot of this is the super poop, which they've talked about how the Jupiters have, like, a waste recycler, and that's what can, like, give them fuel, basically. But it would take years for them to get enough waste to be able to lift the Jupiter. So they go back to the cave, and big surprise, there's bats, or a bat-like creature there. It's almost more like a dragon, actually. And, like, what you thought was stalagmites, I think, that come from the bottom and go up, is actually just a lot of poop. And even Penny has the line of, like, we are literally surrounded by shit right now. And so it's like, okay, it's kind of funny, it's kind of interesting, and they have to be quiet as they get it all out of there. Again, we see the flashbacks of stuff that never seen before, but you know it's going to be important, of them touching the door and their hair stands up because it's electrical charge. And it turns out that the Resolute was not using its own engine. It was actually using an engine that mankind stole from the robots. So again, like, all of these flashbacks and stuff from this episode, they could have done episodes ago and planted those seeds and got us thinking about it instead of being like, oh, look, Will has a code and John's responding, they're alive. Like, it just doesn't work. I don't like it. Penny talking to her boyfriend and saving him. The teenage drama, it's cute, boring, whatever. Judy saving Maureen was kind of nice, and then that's the big twist, is Robot has put himself back together, and then the final line of danger, Dr. Smith, instead of Will Robinson. So evidently Robot has reprogrammed and is now serving Dr. Smith. So that's actually a pretty cool twist. So overall, I don't know, I was not impressed with this one. So for those who have seen it, what did you guys think? Let me know, and I will see you guys next time for the season 1 finale, Danger Will Robinson.